Hello, trading is closed on February 23rd, 2021. We always start with our disclaimer. This is my call for tomorrow, February 24th, 2021. Remember, I could be completely wrong, so if you want to trade, do so at your own risk. How did that pop up? Please obey the rules of my channel. I'll block you if you don't. And my email is mejt.trades@gmail.com. Okay. We had a higher MEJT target, 3902.93. We said unless we gapped down sharply, it was favored to print. We gapped down sharply, so according to the rules, the price remains on the table but not the time, and the call for the day is killed before the open. Look for the pattern with the early high. There it is. Tends to be a rally day high in the final hour. Failure is a straight line drop, so is that failure? Well, usually it'll keep on dropping. So I think that's the normal pattern. Tomorrow's pattern also has the early high. We'll come back to our wave count in just a minute. You'll recall yesterday we said we could call the end of the wave either here or here. I chose to call it here. I was thinking we'd have one more wave up and then a drop. Now it turns out this was the end of the wave. They're at the same price. I just guessed wrong. And we'll show how the wave counts change in just a minute. In the morning we had an ultimate buy signal as well as an ultimate sell. The buy signals played out. We got another buy signal in the afternoon. Those certainly worked. We have an ultimate sell. The target's 3830.31. Ultimately it should print. Nothing requires it to print soon, but normally it'll print within 2 or 3 days, if not sooner. I get about 150 of these a year. The system in the summer is going to be 19 years old. I think I got about 6 or 7 of them that haven't printed in all that time. So maybe every 2 or 3 years they'll get one that doesn't work. It doesn't have to print soon, but for the reasons we'll state, I think it's more likely than not that it will, and that's more than 50 handles away from here, away from this high, more than 60 handles away from the high. Well, we always go over what we said. We said unless we gap down, the higher target's favored to print, so we gap down. Here's our count. We've dropped right from this critical area. We've overlapped this high. I think it's extremely unlikely this high is going to be overcome anytime soon. I think that's probably it for now. I think it will be overcome later, but there could be a sizable decline first. Well, we had this as the end of wave red B. We'll now have to make this the end of wave red B. This will be C, and that completed blue A. We then had an impulse down. We had a ABC up with C equal to A. It's not the only place that the recovery can end, but it's the commonest one. You can see we also stopped right at the prior lows here, which is resistance. So we have resistance from the prior low and resistance from the ABC with C equal to A. There's your A. There's your C. They're quite equal. We're calling this black A, this black B. It's not the only count, but it's the one I'm using. Black C doesn't have to equal black A, but it often will. And if it does, you'll get a similar wave down to just under 3,800. We overtake this significantly, the idea is killed, so that's your stop. Tomorrow's pattern has a really high. It could still gap down. We have a failed target at a higher price. That's from yesterday. It's typical of a market top. It satisfies one of the conditions. I prefer to see if a top is indeed present. MEJT it's not part of the rules, but MEJT will just about always leave a failed target at a major change in trend. BPSPX is a breadth indicator. It completely collapsed. So the number of stocks having bullish patterns has collapsed. Makes it quite unlikely the recent high will be overtaken before we undergo a serious decline. Can justify a drop of as much as 1,000 points from the top, but that's not the only number that works. We have a lower ultimate MEJT target, not required to print soon, but it usually will. And if today high holds, as we've shown, we could undercut today's low relatively soon. This is pretty negative stuff if you ask me. And I think the top is in, and we could be in for some ugly times before we rally again. If this holds, this probably won't. And that's today's call.